Some of the content of Patriots Unfiltered may not be suitable for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
The world's original podcast.
This is Patriots Unfiltered.
Presented by Toyota's official website for deals, buyatoyota.com.
Patriots Unfiltered.
Greetings from Gillette Stadium. We are high above the practice fields here at training camp, and this is a special Patriots Unfiltered presented by buyatoyota.com. We're going to be covering the first day of pads today. That's always a kind of a milestone day in training camp. The first day, just like I said, that they put full pads on and the physicality begins. So it's Mike Dussault, it's Paul Perillo, it's Evan Lazar, myself, Fred Kirsch, Matt Morrell in the booth, and a cast of thousands in the background making this possible. We'll be here for as long as they have us, covering practice and talking about what we see. So guys, first day of pads. How is that different from everything else we've seen so far?
Yeah, physicality clearly is the first part of it. And listening to the players late last week, it sounded like they're all anxious to get out there and actually maybe hit a little bit. Keon White especially seems like he's looking forward today, hoping the offense runs a lot on him. Seeing the practice plan. Get ready, going to start in the high red zone and work your way right down onto the goal line there at the end. So it should be a pretty physical practice, a lot of hitting, a lot of, the snap of the pads and the helmets, as we like to hear.
So last week we had Mike Onwenu on Patriots Unfiltered, and he was talking about, when you're an offensive lineman early in camp, you're not wearing pads, there's nothing to grab onto, they know our cadence. So it's not surprising that maybe the defensive lineman had a little bit of advantage. No excuses today then, right? Right?
No. We'll see some one-on-ones as well, which are always fun. And maybe not real football. The poor defensive backs are going to be stuck on an island, but certainly the defensive line, offensive line, those one-on-one pass rush drills. Interested to see, a little bit of the younger pass rushers, I'd say. Evan and I were talking last week after Saturday's practice just about, Braden Swinson as a guy that, we kind of wondered if he might be able to carve out a role. So far, kind of quiet. Haven't seen a lot from him, but, nothing to take away from the other guys who have been playing on the edge. I think Harold Landry, Keon White, Chase on, those guys have been really active. So that'll be the exciting position groups to watch. Certainly Will Campbell today will get a look at him with pads on and how he holds up.
So your two big guys going into camp was Swinson and Polk, and you're not doing too well. Yeah.
No, and you bring up Jalen Polk, though. It'll be great to see if he's able to get out here. Not great that he missed the first 4 days of practice, trying to bounce back from that rookie season, and it's a jam-packed wide receiver room. So the sooner he gets back, the better his chances are going to be to make this team.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if we get any of the injured guys back today. You mentioned Polk, but you had the first off day on Sunday, and sometimes after an off day you get guys coming off lists and whatnot. So it'd be interesting to see if any of those veterans are able to make it back.
Yep. Looking at Mac Hollins, even a Vidarian Lowe, Austin Hooper too, another guy that you'd like to see back here. Not that he needs to catch up on much, but just to have him out there. And I'll be the offensive line guy for the next week and a half with all the pads on and everything. And look, I just will continue to say, to me, that is the tipping point of the season, is whether or not they can get this offensive line up and running. And Doug Marrone and Josh McDaniels and Mike Vrabel and the entire staff, can they get this line even just to average? If they can do that, then I think the rest of the team is going to be fine, and they'll find their way, and they'll be able to win some games. But this offensive line, can they block anybody up front, is going to make or break the season for the Patriots.
It really is critical. I mean, it's hard to judge the offense if the offensive line isn't doing its part. You just can't execute correctly.
Yeah, there's so much that goes into it. Obviously the biggest thing to me is being able to have some semblance of a run game. And when you have a run game, it allows you to then play action off the run game. It allows you to move the pocket with Drake May. You can scheme things that are a little bit longer developing if you trust your offensive line and feel like you can hold up with the blocking and give Drake a chance back there for some of those more disguised or scheme type of plays. When you don't have an offensive line that can block, you really really have to focus on getting the ball out as quickly as possible, and that's really all you can do is try to get the football out as quickly out of his hand as quickly as possible. So when you have a line, you're able to do a whole lot more schematically.
Yeah, I was just going to say we've spent so much time talking about the tackle position in the last couple of years. Of course, Will Campbell, 4th overall pick, Morgan Moses, free agent signed, even Marcus Bryant, who they drafted, has been brought in. But I'm really looking at the center and the left guard position now a little closer. We start with Bradbury. He's been getting a lot of the leadoff reps, but Jared Wilson's been getting in there pretty quick. He got some expanded reps on Saturday, which shows that there is some maybe uncertainty at the center position. And Cole Strange has been the first guy at left guard. They signed Wes Schweitzer in the offseason. He, retired, so they had wanted maybe a little bit more depth to consider along there. Tyrese Robinson, a name that we saw a little bit more of in the spring. He's been a little bit buried. Layden Robinson, a player that we thought had some promise. We haven't seen much of him either yet. So for as much attention as we put on the tackle position, and rightly so, it might even be now that the biggest questions are at center and left guard right now.
It's so much easier when you have that interior too, because the tackles then you can just do the drive-bys, right? Just push them around the corner and push them past the quarterback and allow the quarterback to just step up in the pocket. And if you have that clean interior of the pocket and he can step up, then it makes your tackles' jobs a whole lot easier too. So it all kind of goes together. But even looking, you mentioned Layden Robinson, Caden Wallace has basically exclusively repped at guard in this camp so far, so they doesn't look like they view him, this staff views him as a tackle. So does he get in on the left guard competition? Just Jared Wilson, is he at left guard? Is he at center? Maybe they think their best interior line is with him and Bradbury both out there, and you have Bradbury at center.
You mentioned Wilson. Like, we've seen him at guard as well as center, so it's clear they're looking to see, can we get this guy in there?
Yeah.
Well, and he also talked about after practice on Saturday, just, anytime you play offensive line, if you play one of the interior spots, you need to be able to play all 3 of those spots.
Yeah.
That's just comes with the territory. He talked about doing some training in the offseason at guard specifically. So I would expect him to be a candidate to play any of those 3 spots.
Yeah. Also, too, just a housekeeping bit. Seems like the Cole Strange to center experiment is over. We haven't really seen him there. He worked in there a little bit last year, and we thought maybe this offseason that he'd be in the mix in that competition. So far, it doesn't seem like he is.
Does that mean he has left guard nailed down? I mean, left
guard.
I think that's exclusively where we've seen him, and
he's got the inside track.
Yeah.
I don't know if he hasn't. He's the current leader in the clubhouse in that competition, and I think it's his job to lose. But now here comes the real stuff, right? Here comes the real evaluation period, and like you said earlier, Fred, Bradbury and Wilson are both out there. Like Wilson, it seems like they want to get him involved. So, is your best line from just an upside or a ceiling perspective Campbell, Wilson, Bradbury, Onwenu, Moses? And then that's your best 5. Yeah. And with Jared Wilson playing left guard, I could see that on paper being the best group that they have, and maybe that makes Cole Strange an odd man out there.
Yep. All right, so even though it's the first day of pads, that doesn't mean they'll be 100% hitting, at least tackling. They'll probably not be bringing guys down to the ground at this point. So it'll be, I guess they call it in some programs, they call it thudding.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, there should be some thudding. Like I said, they're going to start out in their first 11-on-11 period up on the 35 high red zone, and then they're going to work their way right down to the 3-yard line for those final few reps. So the end of today, we'll wrap up with some goal line reps. Those are always good. Competition, who's going to win the day. There'll probably be 1 or 2 reps where, all right, this is it, 3rd down, who's going to make it? So it's not only just the pads. I think this brings out the competitiveness overall in a lot of these guys. And like Mike Vrabel said last week, there's always a player or 2 that once the pads come on, their contact balance, their aggressiveness, it allows them maybe to show up a little bit more than they might have in these early days when it's so much on the mental part of the game.
Yep.
I'm curious with those low red zone stuff, how much is Drake involved running in those periods? Because I think there's a chance that he is, and playing 11-on-11 down there and using him on the goal line, on zone reads or keepers or whatever the case may be, could be a real advantage for them, in terms of punching the ball in once they get down there. So I'd like to see him keep it once or twice and watch him go around the edge, but we'll see how much they do that right out of the gate.
Yeah, just to piggyback off that, because Drake's mobility is such a talking point for us. We talk a lot about it. People say, hey, we want Josh McDaniels with a mobile quarterback, and I think Evan just nailed it. that's where you want to see Drake used. It's less chance he's going to take a big hit. We're not talking in the middle of the field, the standard offense. Let's, try to run that kind of stuff. Let's get right into, in the red zone where he can make best use of his
Mike
his
Vrabel
feet.
is stepping to the podium in a few seconds, so when he does, we're going to go to him live so you can hear what he has to say. He said he's excited about the first day of pads.
Sure. Former player, right? I'm sure this is his favorite. They got to do it pretty quick, though, back in the old day, right? Like by Saturday, I think, was usually like
this
couple
ramp-up
days
period
right
is,
into
They
it.
used to be in pads the first day.
Yeah.
Well, back in my day, they were in pads in May. So,
I mean, the first day of training camp was full pads.
Here's Mike Vrabel.
You were a rookie with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I believe in your first padded practice you may have gotten into a fight. Should I assume that you don't want your rookies doing that?
I don't want any of us doing that. It's a long time ago, Karen.
Yeah. Can you give a little detail?
Nope.
Okay.
You're going to follow up?
Have the players been told that they can't do it, Mike?
Of course. I mean, we want to be able to practice the same way we have to play, which is physical and within the rules, and have a great play demeanor, finish through the whistle and all those things. And, if you throw a punch, you're going to get kicked out of the game, which is going to cost the team. So I don't anticipate any of that. I want us to celebrate with our team, and the defensive unit celebrate with each other. Offensive unit get excited and celebrate with each other. Not get into the taunting and the things that we would, that we can't have during the game.
Did you at least win?
I think I did. It's a good story about, don't use the fight, but about a veteran player. Greg Lloyd was a very dominant player, imposing figure, and I got drafted in April, and he didn't say a word to me through OTAs. And I'm on the defense, mind you, so he didn't say a word to me the entire off season. We go to training camp. There was a fight with me and a tight end, and I'm exhausted after practice, and I see this shadow come over me as I'm sitting in the locker room, and he's like, in his deep voice, and he's like, yeah, the next time you want to come up underneath the face mask. And I was like, you just now are going to talk to me? He's like, yeah, I just wanted to make sure you weren't like a punk, and then I would talk to you. So it's a good example of just a veteran making sure that rookies kind of earn their stripes, I guess, a little bit. But
do you feel like
you're satisfied with the foundation you built in camp so far to get to the point of putting in pads?
Yeah, I think so. This will be, twofold. We'll be down in the red zone. We'll be getting a lot of work in the red zone. Things happen a lot quicker down there. Tighter windows. Just the speed of everything, it just gets sped up, and so that'll be good for us to move on to that situation, as well as see how we, start to practice in pads and our pad level, our fundamentals, our hands, and those types of things.
Mike, as you share that story and talk about the guy not talking to you for a couple months while you're together, do you feel like it's different in the NFL or with this specific team now?
Well, I just think that was a Greg Lloyd type of thing. I mean, I think that was certainly his personality. I think that there's, you're always trying to, prove yourself to your teammates, especially as a young player, and Greg probably took it a little too extreme.
Mike, after all these OTAs and the first 4 days without pads, your excitement level today, maybe on a scale from 1 to 10?
I just think coming off of a day off, I think this is just another step in our program. So I try to come out here with the same excitement and give them everything I got and help them. So this is just another important step throughout the process of preparation. Go ahead. Don't worry about it.
What's it been like having Terrell Williams back out there with the team and
Great.
having him on defense?
Yes,
what have you seen from him?
Well, he has an energy to him. There's the players are, they respond well to him. And when he has his clips that he shows them and the things that he thinks are important as a coordinator, I think that they're believing in what we want to do in our style of play. And so just keep moving ahead. But it's great to have him back, just his personality and demeanor.
Mike, if you were in our shoes, what would you think you'd say? You guys should really watch this
you've been doing this for a long time. You know how.
You mean if I was a part of the media?
Yeah, if you would like say you guys
I don't think there's ever a scenario where that would happen.
Oh, that's absolutely a matter of time. You already did stuff with Felger 15 years ago.
As soon as I'm done with this, I'm going to be in the witness protection plan. You will never find me.
All right. Well, if you decided you would help us.
I mean, I just think that how maybe some of these, to me, it's critical at the line of scrimmage, right? Just being able to make contact. There's going to be a stalemate. There's two professional players lined up across from each other. Who can re-engage? Who can reset their feet? Maybe get a little extra movement. How do we play on? Do we stay on our feet? Can we practice like this and stay on our feet? We got a bunch of guys falling on the ground. I'd rather not see that. I just don't think that good teams end up practicing that way. And again, just the urgency in which we move around practice. That we're in and out of the huddle. The players are running on and off the field. Those are all things that I think are critical. I think that translate to the field, to the game. Excuse me. Right where. You're not standing 10 yards behind the ball. You're coming from the sideline, and we're communicating. The personnel and the quarterback has to echo that. Those are the types of things right now that we're trying to build.
Mike, Pup Douglas seems to be having a pretty strong camp. So what have you seen from him? What have you learned about him this offseason?
Great energy, great demeanor, very coachable. One of our off-season award winners, so he obviously worked extremely hard. Was here every day, ready to learn, ready to earn a role, and love being around Pop. He's got a great energy, and he's got a lot of respect from everybody around here.
Mike, specific to one-on-one pass rush we saw a little bit the other day, how much of that period is for experimentation with new moves or techniques versus the evaluation where guys are really obviously trying to win every rep?
Yeah, I watch it a little bit. I do think that that's probably a great question. One of the players I coached in Houston, Whitney Merciless, we went through some developmental things with him. He was a very talented player. And one thing I always respected about Whitney was his willingness to try new moves during practice. And, some of them wouldn't work. Some of them he needed to see at full speed for him to say, that's not something that I'm going to commit a lot of time to. And then others that, worked and he would commit time to. So that's exactly why you do practice, is so that you can, sometimes figure out what doesn't work, and you can eliminate some things and you can move on, especially as a pass rusher, right? You're trying to have a couple different pitches, not too many, but I certainly need a fastball and some off-speed pitches and some counters. So this is why we practice, is to be able to go out there and do that, and I understand, a lot of those things. And, when you get to the team periods and you get to the games and you can see how guys pass rush. But, I think that's obviously a good thing. The offensive linemen are going to work on different techniques and things like that, so they're not doing the same thing every single snap.
Mike, how much do you appreciate Hunter Henry has displayed a real level of consistency over the course of his 3-4 years here in New England. What is it from your standpoint that's allowed him to have that level of consistency really over the course of his career?
Yeah, he's very, very, very comfortable player. I would very similar to Kevin Byard, and I'm not big on comparisons, and just talking about personalities, right? Like Kevin was really confident and comfortable. He never looked stressed. And you would look and see some younger players maybe at the same position, and they'd be sweating before the play would start. They were making checks and everything else and running, and Kevin just always had a very calm, confident demeanor and was an excellent player for us. And I feel the same about Hunter. I think that anything that you ask him to do, it comes very easy, and he's very instinctive, and he's got a good feel for the game. So, that's all. Those are all positives, and I think that leads to his consistency.
Mike, get back to those one-on-one situations with the guys on the line. What are you hoping to see from Will Campbell today? What would you need to see to look back on the tape and say, hey, that's pretty good?
Would go for every one of our offensive linemen is that we're getting into the line of scrimmage when we're running it. We're staying inside out when we throw it. It's going to be the same for every offensive lineman that we have. You asked me a question about Milt Williams. I'm going to tell you the same thing for every defensive lineman. We're going to coach them all the same and continue to do what we've been doing here the first couple days.
Mike, when we talk to the guys on the offense here, players and coaches, very few of them have experience in Josh McDaniels' playing for him and his offense. What's that like, having kind of a whole team learning the offense and system together?
It allows people to stay engaged, and there's modifications that we make, and we'll do that defensively and offensively. Put something in, and then you always have the ability to adjust it. And Josh is working well, and they're all working well together offensively about how we want to get things done. And that's, I think, when something's new, put a little bit more time into it, just so that you can kind of get the details and you don't maybe take things for granted. Thank you.
All right, that's Mike Vrabel up at the podium. He wasn't going to talk about his fight when he was a rookie, but he talked a little bit about it. At least the Greg Lloyd part. Shocker that Mike Vrabel got into a fight his rookie year.
So that's a story that he told on our show on Patriots All Access.
Oh, really?
With his sit-down interview with Scott Zolak that aired on Friday night, and it was out of nowhere. He just sort of talked about getting into a little scrap with one of the tight ends, and that was what led Greg Lloyd to finally sort of say, okay, this guy's worth investing in.
Right.
And he started to offer some tips to Mike.
That come up under the so Greg, I'm not surprised.
I love those
actually
stories.
hurt your teammate.
Sounds like an Andre Tippett story to me. That's something Tip would do.
Well, Tip would do a leg sweep. The guy would be down on the ground in like 2 seconds. Yeah. Okay. Anything else you gleaned out of that?
Just a little bit about Pop Douglas. I know that those off-season awards, we tend to hand out quite a few of those sometimes, but he's been somebody that, the question, I think it was Mark Daniels who asked the question, he has definitely stood out the first 4 days of practice, and it's not surprising to hear that he was an active participant in the off-season because he's having a great start to camp. So just hearing that and kind of cementing that the team is also pretty pleased with where Pop Douglas is, I think is good to hear.
Yeah, he is, I would say, of all the receivers, not named Diggs, he stood out the most.
He's been the best receiver, period, including Diggs.
Yeah.
I agree with everything Evan just said. We talked about it on our podcast after practice on Saturday. I think he's been active in every practice, not just with the little shallow crosses like at or around the line of scrimmage. He's found some soft spots and zones. I think that particular part of it is important for Josh McDaniels, because one of the things that we always hear about is how slot receiver friendly it is with Josh McDaniels. And I think what Douglas has shown a little bit, probably as a result of his off-season work, is a better understanding at the start of camp of the McDaniels offense than what I think a lot of other people.
He's always been a weapon. Now he's going to be able to use his.
That's what I get for trying to give a serious piece of analysis. Sorry, Demario.
I remember last year Alex Van Pelt talking about the fact that his offense really didn't feature the slot, and that when they had Pop Douglas, and he was like, well, we got to find a way, to morph this offense in. Well, this offense with Josh McDaniels, we know features the slot, and we know he's going to be a big part of it. So the fact that he's picking up some of the minutiae that Paul was talking about, I think is a really good sign. I mean, even the touchdown that he caught from Drake on Saturday, the big play at camp so far, having those instincts to play playground football and take off deep and get yourself open behind the defense there and finish that play is also a good sign, just between the chemistry between those two guys. So all good stuff.
I know it's way too early to figure this out, but let's just say that Douglas is able to establish himself as a slot receiver on this team. How does that affect Diggs? Because lately, a lot of his production has come underneath. It hasn't, it's been the shorter pass. So what does that do to the spacing and what you do with Diggs if now you do have a true slot receiver?
I just think Diggs is still your every down go-to guy, regardless of situation. And I think Pop will benefit from having a guy like Diggs. And maybe that's what we're seeing a little bit of him, causing the defense to need to put a little bit more attention on that player. Still, I think Pop is a really dynamic, talented player, especially in man coverage. So you got to feel really good about if he does just come off the bench for third downs when you got to have it, those kind of moments to give you a little bit of a boost. But, it's really primarily been Booty, Diggs, and Pop in the slot. And that's been the primary top three. And they're probably going to play a lot of 11 personnel, especially with Austin Hooper out. That affects a little bit right now of how they use their packages. So you might be getting a little bit of an outsized view of Pop Douglas right now.
Yeah, I really like the idea of those two guys together, honestly, because not to get in the alphabet, but like if Diggs is your Z, right, and he's sort of your move piece, and he's the guy that's off the line of scrimmage and moving around, and then Pop's in the slot, like you kind of have a first and second level of your passing game there, where sometimes it might be Pop going to the second level and Diggs going underneath, and then it'll be Diggs going deeper and Pop going underneath, and it's similar to maybe what we saw with like Edelman and Amendola, right? Like
number one.
Something like that, and I think that actually they can play off of each other really well. The question that I would have is, who's going to be the base receivers, because Pop is not going to play in like heavier packages on first down and run situations in 12 personnel, 21 personnel. So that's going to be Booty, or it's going to be a Javon Baker maybe, or it's going to be a Matt Collins, someone like that. It's not going to be Pop, because Pop's really going to be your third receiver, your slot in those 11 personnel sets.
So something moved for Deuce, because we saw Jalen Polk coming on the field with a helmet in pads.
Yeah. I also saw Josh Minkins, obviously not as high profile a player, but he was on NFI. He's in uniform as well. But yeah, I think sometimes after an early off day, you see some guys come back. So good to see, still time. Didn't miss that much of practice, so there's still time for Polk to play catch.
Still hope, Deuce. Still hope.
And you probably saw a helicopter taken off in the background. I would assume that's the owner or one of the owners.
Wasn't mine.
No. I'm surprised he's leaving.
No, maybe just a drop off. Maybe just a drop off.
Oh, could have been just dropping him off. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Flex.
Yeah. So if Pop is a slot, Efton Chisholm, is he relegated to the practice squad if that's the case?
Yeah, it's funny you say that, Fred. I mean, we talk about there's a lot of guys on the depth chart. Watching Efton Chisholm, and I haven't seen him, hasn't done a lot, obviously, with the top offense at all, but he just moves really well, and I think that's what's intriguing to me about him. I don't know if that's enough to truly tell you that this guy could possibly play in the league, but with the logjam at wide receiver, it's really hard to see how he can get in there and get opportunities, but when I just watch him do drills, he just runs like he's got a good, tight stride. He's quick. You can tell he understands how to get open. So we'll see. I don't. It might take an injury for him to get an opportunity, but I like the physical skill set with that guy.
Yeah, he's definitely efficient out there. There's not a lot of wasted motion. He's not all over the place.
Yeah.
Good route runner.
Yeah. Is he more on that like Edelman developmental track where he's sitting behind a more veteran player, and maybe it's Pop in this instance, and so he's here, but it takes him a couple years to or an injury or something like that to get on the field.
Paul, check me on this, but when Edelman got here, his first year, there wasn't a lot of talk. There wasn't a lot of talk about, ooh, look at Edelman, because Welker was here, and the focus was on the established wide receivers. But would you agree?
I don't know. When he returned that punt in the preseason, I think that was...
had a very slow start to his first training camp. He was mishandling a lot of punts and looked like he was having a hard time playing a little bit too fast. Needed to sort of settle down. But Evan's right. On the first preseason game, he made a huge splash and really never stopped.
Yeah.
I think,
in terms of receiver, though, it was a couple years before they said, okay, we got to start seeing if he can beat out Welker.
It wasn't even on purpose, right?
Yeah.
Like Danny Amendola was kind of signed to really do it, and then Edelman just outperformed Amendola. But that I could see that for Chisholm too. Whether unless it's an injury or something like that he's around, but he's not there, and he's kind of in that pipeline, and it might take him a year or two to actually start to get opportunities in games.
Does Chisholm contribute to special teams?
He can return punts. I don't know if he's as straight line fast as Edelman was. Certainly didn't run as fast as Edelman in the 40, but that's not everything. But he's quicker, not quicker than Edelman, but he's quicker, not fast, and he's got a nice little jump cut to his game after the catch, but he doesn't pull away from a lot of guys.
Because that's the way to establish yourself, is contribute on special teams if you're somebody at that level.
For sure. That's why I said it's just hard to get opportunities right now. Right now, if you're Jalen Polk or Javon Baker or even Kendrick Bourne to an extent, you're making the most out of every opportunity you get because they're somewhat limited at this point. So Kendrick Bourne's an interesting guy to me. Does he have a fit? Josh has worked with him before. Talked about 21. He had a good season. He was on pace for a really good season a couple seasons ago before he got hurt. Last year coming back, but still had some plays. So
we'll see. I think he's looked faster.
Yeah, I mean it's just Bourne.
I think he's looked faster than he did last year.
I think Bourne's quick. I think he's fast. I think he's. I would keep him. I mean, if we're talking, I'm trying really hard not to do this. If we're talking Efton Chisholm or Kendrick Bourne, I don't really think that we're talking about the same thing.
Yeah.
I think.
Well, same college.
You know, if you want to move on because you think Bourne is sort of not part of the long term, then I'm fine with that. But they're not in the same class.
Yeah, I'm glad that Deuce mentioned Javon Baker because, like, I feel like his path to the roster is actually a lot easier than like a Jalen Polk's because they just don't have a ton of outside guys.
Right.
Like they have a ton of slots or Z's or inside receivers. If you're Jalen Polk, you're competing with Diggs, you're competing with Pop, you're competing with Bourne, maybe even like Kyle Williams a little bit. Like there's just a lot of that type, that body type. Whereas like Javon Baker is really only competing with Kayshon Boutte. That's really it. And, you know, obviously Matt Collins will be here, but I don't think that they're taking reps away from younger, more like higher upside players from Matt Collins. So that's the big thing to me is it's the types of receivers. And like Javon Baker, if he can play better than Kayshon Boutte, then he could maybe make this team.
I was talking to Mike a little bit on Saturday. We didn't mention it on the podcast, and not that it was like this earth-shattering great practice, but I thought Baker showed up for the first time on Saturday. We hadn't really seen much of him at all the first 3 days. I didn't think he got targeted much, if at all. But he made a couple of catches on Saturday, one on a deep ball, one on a nice, I thought he ran a great route on a third down on an out route to the far sideline. Looked very, you know, my thing, you know, looked very Patriots-like play. Execution was there. And we haven't seen a lot of those plays with Javon Baker. So maybe, you know, a little bit of a slow start. Maybe he's coming on. We'll see if this is something bigger to build on or if he's still on the back burner.
If you're wondering why you're looking at us and not the field, there's only certain periods we're allowed to film. The practice is broken up into periods. And I believe today we're allowed to film periods 3 through 6. So I think they're on period 1 or 2 right now.
Yeah. Sort of they set up what they're going to be doing at practice, and they don't want that necessarily on film.
Yeah.
Anything else stand out, Paul? I've been chipping away at attendance here so far. I haven't really caught anything, any absences of note just yet.
So I am not really even close. I can't really see. I can't see like half the field.
But I do see. I did catch Morgan Moses as well as Ramondre Stevenson, who Fred we pointed out on the post game, the post practice campcast. Never really seen two guys come out to practice midway through, kind of do their own little warm up, and then just hop right into team drills, which is what Moses and Stevenson did on Saturday.
Yeah, I was hoping that somebody was going to ask Vrabel about that, not to like put him on the spot, but just. We don't know. What's the plan there, and what's the thought process there? Because I've never seen that. Two players that didn't stretch, didn't do anything, and then just middle of the practice, they both showed up. They did a little warm up. The two of them, Ramondre and Morgan Moses. The next thing I know, I look up and they're in 11 on 11.
So is Ramondre dealing with anything?
Not that we know of, but I mean, I don't think it's too much of a stretch to look at those two players, though, and say these are guys that you want to limit the amount of.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if they had like a little extra training stuff downstairs, and then they came up and kind of eased themselves back into practice.
Ask questions.
Definitely possible. I mean, Moses has been on a little bit of his own plan anyway, just with rotations and.
Yeah.
But for the most part, every time there's a first team rep and the drill starts off, he's in there right.
Yeah, and I think we're going to see that throughout camp with him. You know, he's 34. They want to preserve him.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want him, wearing out in the summer. They want him ready for September, so that's
especially with Max Crosby waiting on September 7th or whatever it is.
My eye is on Morgan Moses a little bit though, because I do think, just in general, it's just been a little bit of a slower start to camp from him. He hasn't really participated fully, and look, we all penciled him in like as this guy's going to be our right tackle, no questions asked, and I still feel that way. But he is 34. He did come off a knee injury last year. It'd be nice to see some reps from him in pads and see what he looks like at this point, because it hasn't always been perfect.
And when it's not him, it's been Trey Jacobs, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And a little sprinkling of of Marcus Bryant at left tackle as well. Just getting some of those young guys reps. I haven't spotted Carlton Davis yet.
I do not have him checked off yet.
So he's been in and out.
But I have a lot of guys that I don't have checked off that I'm sure are here, especially offensive linemen. They're way down. When they come out, they always come up the other side, and it's just way out of my range.
Yeah.
I'm too old, Freddie.
Coming up the backside.
I got you binoculars. You don't use them.
Old. You didn't. When did you get me binoculars?
I gave you a pair of binoculars.
You got me binoculars.
Did I not give you binoculars?
Not that I'm aware of, honestly.
I thought it was last year. You got some old ones.
Yeah, I gave you my old binoculars.
What did you do with those?
See, CTE.
You don't remember?
If you gave it to me in like 2003, I remember. I tell you what the score was of the game that he gave it to me. But last year, I don't.
He's like Drake May, giving away his gifts.
I can't recall. I did not give them away. If you gave them to me, they're in my desk somewhere. I'll check. I'll have to effort that. I'll check.
Right. I mean, do we have to give you LASIK eye surgery? Do you want that?
I tried to get it. The doctor doesn't recommend it.
You're too old.
No,
too old.
Really?
Yep.
Eyes are already falling apart.
You're too old to be a Jedi.
He says I could do it for you, and you'd probably need lenses on them within 5 years. Yeah. So he didn't recommend it.
Yeah.
I'm not seeing 7.
Yeah.
So no,
I don't see
Davis.
7.
See, all the other DBs are a little bit spaced out right now, so maybe he's hiding somewhere, but I do not see him.
Yeah, that's just.
I'm going to guess that he's dealing with some sort of like soft tissue kind of deal, because the only time we've seen him this would be the 4th practice, was the walkthrough.
Right.
So there's no real running there. Everybody that's eligible is out there.
Yeah.
You know. That was the only outlier.
That's why I'm kind of surprised we're seeing Polk, because he wasn't even there for the walkthrough.
But he wasn't allowed to be there for the walkthrough.
Oh, okay.
Well, he's on a list, though.
The guys on lists were. Oh no, that's true.
He's not on the list.
Polk wasn't on the list.
Okay.
Let me take that back.
So let's go back to.
Good call, Evan.
So, the fact that he wasn't there for the walkthrough, it surprised me that the first time we see it's full time. It's full pads.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah, I mean, maybe he was like, all right, I gotta get out there.
Yeah, we'll see what his workload's like today. Is he getting eased in, or does he just jump right in? I mean, they said I think the report was he had some muscle soreness, but I don't know if that was in the shoulder that he had surgery on. It doesn't sound right to me. That
I don't
sounds
think it
like
was
muscle
that,
soreness.
he passed the physical.
Right.
Yeah.
So shoulders should be good to go.
I guess it's, when you're dealing with injuries, sometimes you're not able to do as much cardio as maybe you want to. I wonder if maybe it's just general muscle soreness. I don't know. It seems like a long time to be dealing with that.
Right, especially to
4
hop right
days.
in with pads. If the shoulder was an issue, or that was the thing holding them back, unlikely they'd throw him right to the wolves right now, but we'll see.
Let's move over to we talk a little bit about Carlton Davis, but let's move over to the defense, because we've been focusing on the offense. Not yesterday, but Saturday, I think it was, Vrabel talked at some length about Spillane and how he likes his energy, his communication, his violence in the run game. Is this guy a candidate for captain?
100%.
If he's not already captain.
Yeah, I would absolutely say yes.
I mean, I think if you listen to the mic'd up that we put out, it's just clear he is taking the reins with this defense. He's a guy that's worked hard to get to this point. It seems like he's very excited to really feel like he has a home here after bouncing around, from Tennessee to Pittsburgh to the Raiders, and now, a 3-year deal for him here. He stepped right into this role and has just become that instant middle linebacker in the middle who's making the calls and adjusting guys and encouraging guys and setting the tone right from the start of practice. I saw him get his hands on a couple balls last practice on Saturday, saw him free run right in on a blitz as well. And I think that's the biggest thing for me with Spillane is just, we know tackling machines, but is he making plays? Is he getting hands on? Is he defending passes? Is he getting tackles for loss? Is he getting into the backfield? Is he forcing fumbles? Those are the things that can truly make him, a special player for this defense, in addition to being the intellectual leader, trying to get everybody on the same page. But from what the guys have all said about this scheme now is it's very simple. They just want you to play fast. There's not a lot of sit there, figure it out, decipher it, and then go get it. It's, go get it and figure it out later. So I think he fits that really well. Milton Williams does, Christian Barmore does, and I hope Keon White does as well. That, to me, and Keon White said it himself, that he's at his best when he's not thinking and he's just playing. So hopefully he can understand this scheme and Keon White can just play and really have that breakout year that I know a lot of people think he can have this year.
Who was the player, the defensive player that said that they call him the commander?
I think it was Marcus Jones.
Marcus Jones.
They call Spillane
Spillane the commander. So clearly he's in charge. I mean, that comes with that position a little bit. It's kind of like the quarterback of the defense.
Yeah.
But we've seen it. We've seen Spillane, looking like he plays fast and has a jump. It made a couple of nice plays in coverage the other day. Also got beat a couple of plays pretty badly in coverage on some of those running back routes. But he's an active guy. It's hard not to notice his energy. Just when you watch practice, the way he comes out, it's hard not to notice his energy.
Yeah, I think I'm sure, and understandably so. Not a lot of people were combing over Raiders tape over the last couple of years, given what has happened with that team. But he's been somebody that has been underrated, kind of sneaky good for a while now. He's obviously played for Vrabel in Tennessee, so he's very familiar with this defense, and it's stepping into a familiar defense for him. So I can understand how he's already has the calls down and already has all that communication down. So him and Harold Landry, I think, are two guys that are going to be captains and going to be leaders. Maybe Landry a little bit more of like a quiet leader compared to Spillane, but I think those two guys are here for partially because of that, to kind of be circle the wagon guys for the staff and for Vrabel.
I like how you said that about Landry. That's what's, I wouldn't say surprised me. I didn't have any preconceived notion of him. But he just seems like a serious guy who goes about his business. He's always out here really early. Seems just ready to carry over what he did in Tennessee and slip right into this mold. And you can see why Vrabel went out and got those guys. Some transition going on with the defense, but that's at least two pieces right there that know what they're doing. They know all the calls, and they bring a degree of familiarity with this defense.
As you can see, we've got our cameras now turned on the field. There's your quarterback, Drake May.
It's my quarterback.
I give him a B, maybe B- so far this
B-,
this
Fred. That's tough.
This may be a first in the history of the program. I am higher on Drake May than Fred through the first 4 days of practice.
Okay.
I thought I guess I was a little bit alone on this take. I thought he made more difficult passes on Saturday, even though they weren't all complete, than he did the first 3 days combined, when everybody was talking about how efficient the offense was. It's just, I'm not really overly impressed when screens and little dump-offs are getting completed.
Right.
I was impressed with some of the. He threaded one in to Henry on like a deep over route, I think, Ev, before you yell at me.
Nice. Well done.
Before you yell at me. That was over the linebacker in front of the safety. I mean, the throw couldn't have been any better. I thought the ones that he missed were largely the result of too much pressure.
Yeah.
There's too many guys in his face when he's trying to throw. I just thought, given the amount of time that he spent throwing the ball down the field on Saturday, the completion percentage is not going to be, in the high 80s like it was the first 3 days. I think he's throwing the ball really well.
Yeah,
really well.
You get a lot more out of a practice in Saturday than I feel like you got out of the first couple of days, even though the stats might look better from the first couple of days. Like, he was actually opening it up, and they were trying to push the ball down the field more and be more aggressive. Watching it from up here, just like calling a bunch of shot plays as well that were purposely meant to go down the field, unlike the first couple of days. So if you can take what he did in the first couple of days and then sprinkle in what they did on Saturday, now you have an offense.
Yeah. You get efficient and the big play capability.
I'm still thinking about the throw to Pop Douglas. Like, I've been thinking about that for 2 days. Like,
that was a Felger.
It's unbelievable.
He flicked his wrist, and Felger doesn't use wrist as his.
He flicked his wrist off 1 foot and threw it 60 yards on a dime. Like, that is the talent, the arm talent that he has. That is just unbelievable.
And I'm sure you guys listening, you guys all got a chance to see it, because I know we had the video that we put out there through our social channels. So you got a chance to see the level of difficulty on the play. It wasn't just a run-of-the-mill, well, he ran by everybody. No, they had an ad-lib. They bought time. Yeah. And then May specifically said that's one of the things that he's really focusing on.
That was like Josh Allen-esque. Like, that looked like what you would see in Buffalo. Like, that was a hell of a throw.
Like, you got nothing there. They got the play stopped, and all of a sudden they're in the end zone.
I find myself questioning a lot, because I feel like you're inherently, every NFL team right now probably feels fairly positive. I can't imagine that any NFL team's coverage has gotten to 4 days of practice.
That's
and
a good point.
Oh God, it's over, guys. And certainly there are going to be teams that are terrible this year. And I felt that way, every year, whether it was, a couple years ago in the last couple 4-win seasons, or even when they made the playoffs in 2021. That's what I'm trying to measure, because Saturday's practice to me was one of the most fun training camp practices I've seen, maybe in recent memory. I can't remember one where it was back and forth. You had some pressure from the defense. You had some nice sacks where, you might look at it as, oh, that's concerning by the offensive line. Then you also see, the offense making some plays down the field, and all right, well, that's good for the downfield. Maybe we're concerned about the safety. It's just back and forth. It was balanced.
Well,
I hope it's the same today.
It all comes down to the nature of what they're trying to accomplish that day. And, they were trying to go longer and, like Evan said, take those plays. That's going to bring down your stats because you don't complete as many of those, but that's what they were trying to do. That's why, you look at these training camp statistics and there's no context to them. Yeah. What were they trying to do that day? When he's 14 or 15, all the passes are under 6 yards. So, yeah, you better be 14 or 15.
Right.
And if you're doing what they did Saturday, it's unlikely that they're going to be like that.
I think the hope is if you do what they did on the day that he was 14 for 15 and get him more of those layups, it's not going to all be on his shoulders to make the throw that he made to Pop Douglas to get them in the game, right? And so that's the hope, is that you can combine those two things. And I know there's a lot of chatter on Paul's shows about whether or not they're going to reel him in and reel in his gunslinger ability.
Even his running ability.
Yeah.
And I hope that doesn't necessarily happen.
I think it's funny, and I know we pick on your guys a lot, Paul, but they get on he doesn't, Felker doesn't think that running quarterbacks are good. And it's who was in the Super Bowl last year? Who won?
It's amazing.
The Super Bowl last year, Jalen Hurts, right?
Yeah,
won the Super Bowl.
Get your head out of the sand.
Right. Lamar Jackson was in the AFC Championship game.
I'm sure he thinks of Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson as losers because they haven't won 7 titles.
Right, but
despite the fact they've won more games in the NFL over the last 5 years than anybody else.
Every year, the Final 4, the Final 8, 7 of the 8 quarterbacks are dual threat. That's just elite. The Super Bowl matchup last year was Mahomes versus Hurts.
Yep.
2 guys that are athletic and can move around. So I get it. You don't want the Lamar Jackson, our offense is built around the quarterback run.
And we've talked about this in the past on this show. Everyone says, NFL is an offensive league now. All the rules are, skewed to, score points. But the defenses are more complex now than they ever were.
It's catching up.
Right. And you need that quarterback that can do both to keep the defenses honest. If you have a pocket quarterback who's not mobile, in today's NFL with the speed on defense, it makes it too easy.
Yeah.
It makes it too easy. You get that quarterback who can extend plays on 3rd down. You think you had on 3rd and 8, and he runs for the first. It's a backbreaker for the defense.
I hate those.
You need that. You need that threat. I'm not saying that you have to do it all the time, but you need that threat to keep these fast defenses honest, because defenses aren't as bad as we think they are.
Yeah, and I get what Felker's point is about the design runs, Lamar Jackson, that zone reading and read options and things. You don't want that to be the foundation of your offense.
A little gimmicky.
And Felker also, in his defense, not that his arrogance needs to be defended.
He's got a show to do.
But he also says he thinks of Mahomes' mentality as being ideal. A guy who can run, but generally doesn't waste it in the regular season. It's when there's a big game in the 4th quarter or a playoff game, he tends to run a little bit more to pick up that key 3rd and 8 when he needs it, as opposed to, as Evan said, the Lamar Jackson is going to run for 1,200 yards, and maybe that's not necessarily the best.
Let's say all that said, I think today's a really interesting day for Drake May. We start in the red zone, tighter windows. You heard Vrabel say it. Maybe, like Evan said, we'll see some of the mobile quarterback stuff down near the goal line. But I want to see Drake throw some strikes today. I want to see some throwing with anticipation of windows, and see that part of his game. How much has that improved? Is he able to throw some touchdowns in some of these periods today? I think he'll have about 18 reps. So it's not a huge sample size in practice, but he'll have some opportunities for sure.
I know Paul will say you can talk about your backup quarterback on your own time, but do we have one?
I like Josh Dobbs. I like his mentality. If you have
his mentality.
If you have a veteran quarterback, and
I would agree with that.
It's like Brian Hoyer was the same way. Just rip it. Don't go out there and be conservative and worry about throwing picks. You're on the team for a reason. You're a backup quarterback. to be a mentor, a veteran voice in the room for a young quarterback like Drake May. And I like that he comes out here and kind of lets it loose a little bit. Hoyer was a great practice quarterback. Hoyer would throw some dimes.
I would say
practice.
Dobbs is not afraid to throw into one of those defensive team meetings. But that said, some of the level of difficulty on some of his completions, off the charts. That little soft spot in the zone, like the little hole shot.
Yeah.
He's done that like 4 times. A couple of them have been to DeMario Douglas, where those throws are not easy to make. So yeah, I mean he's been up and down. He's a backup.
Yeah.
So you're going to have some up and down play. Otherwise, he'd be someone's starter.
Yeah.
But I do like his mentality. I like the way Evan led that off. I think Brissett is widely regarded as a tremendous professional. I think last year he felt like he was going to get the season to be the starter and maybe have a chance to one last grasp at showing someone that he can be someone's starter. And then he didn't get it, and I don't think he was great in terms of the other stuff that you were hoping to get once he became the backup.
Yeah.
I think you will get that from Dobbs.
Yeah, he was a little pouty. I think that first game against Cincinnati just screwed everybody up. It really did. It
set expectations.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. We're looking at the offensive line right now. There's 66. Will Campbell.
Yeah, I think Will Campbell's off to a solid start. The team drills has been a little bit up and down for him. He's gotten beat a couple times in pass protection, but I thought he had a good run of one-on-ones on Saturday. I think with the offensive line always it's like one play that sticks out to you where he gets beat and he has 10 good reps and 1 bad, and that's all you count. But I think he's been as advertised, I would say, so far. Like, not perfect in pass pro and has some things to work on there, but for the most part has been solid.
If you're wondering what's that was funny things on everyone's helmet, those are the Guardian padding that they put on. And I don't know if it's mandatory, but I think a lot of players like wearing those in practice.
I believe they're mandatory for positions like the trench positions, like positions in the thick of it, like tight end, fullback, offensive line, defensive line.
Okay.
Yeah. Pepper's one line.
Tavai
walking up the backside.
Not in pads?
No, not in pads. I just saw him walking up the backside without anything on. So, yeah, I guess maybe a setback for him from that calf injury that he experienced in OTAs.
Yeah, he looked like he had an issue on Saturday, right, at one point?
Yeah.
Was that Saturday or Friday? No, it must have been Saturday.
I believe it was Saturday.
Kyle and Pembroke writes in at Patriots at, podcast at patriots.com. After the first week of training camp, my hot takes are that Javon Baker has a better chance of making the team over Polk, and that Ben Woodridge has a real chance of beating out Dobbs for the backup.
I don't see the backup one.
I don't either.
I mean,
I'd put that close to 0.
Yeah, Dobbs has a role. Like, Dobbs has a purpose here. Yep. Paul, I thought, laid it out earlier. That it's the same thing to me with Mac Hollins. Like, everybody's wondering if Mac Hollins is going to be on the team or not. He's not practicing. Like, Mac Hollins, I think, has a purpose to the coaching staff, a leadership, a mentorship type of role. I think the same thing with Dobbs.
Let's see, Todd and Garner. Got to give Fred his due for wishing the worst on opponents. The Jets are suffering QB injuries and conflicts. The Raiders' defensive star held out during his rehab and was released. 2 teams we face this year are already imploding. Well done, Fred. Now for a quick question. Other than Drake May, who is the one player that if he goes down will derail the Patriots season?
Paul? Spillane? Could be.
I think there's one player I don't think is going to do that other than May. But I would put a group of Milton Williams, Robert Spillane, Christian Gonzalez, Stephon Diggs. Like, I'm not saying any one of those individually would cause a spiral, but those would be individuals that would be lowest on my list of guys that they could afford to lose.
Yeah, I might put Harold Landry in that mix too, depending on how it all shapes out.
He could be one too.
But the thing about Milton Williams,
there's a second name out of my mind.
The thing about Landry and Williams and those new guys is, first we got to see, are they going to be who we hope they are before I tab them as, we can't.
I'm tabbing them as guys they don't have replacements for.
Yeah. Well,
like Robert Spillane, there's nobody that can play every down linebacker. I don't think they have another guy on the roster.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it would be Christian Ellis.
Jack Gibbons.
Jack Gibbons, I wouldn't feel great about any.
Yeah.
I don't think Jawan Bentley was an all-pro player.
Right.
When he went out last year, they didn't have anybody that was as good that could replace him.
That's true.
And I think it hurt the defense.
Yeah.
You guys want attendance?
Yes, please.
All right. So Carlton Davis and Jelani Tavai are your absences. Matt Collins, Austin Hooper, Vidarian Lowe remain on PUP. Polk back. Josh Minkins off PUP or off NFI. Excuse me. He returned. So no Tavai and no Davis, or the surprises or unknowns or whatever you want
I
to
wasn't
call
really
it.
missing. I was only missing like 3 guys.
That's pretty good.
Not bad. All right.
Joey wants to know, what's it going to take for Chisholm to make the team? Does it mean Bourne or Booty will need to have a poor training camp for Chisholm to make it, or are we Patriots fans wishful thinking for another Edelman?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think it's going to take an injury for him to be anything more than a practice squatter, unless he blows up in the preseason and he gets some opportunities late in the game and he starts to make some catches, and Josh McDaniels is intrigued, and maybe Pop Douglas is sore one day and Chisholm gets to step in with Drake and he makes 4 or 5, those kind of things can happen, but it's an uphill climb for Chisholm right now.
I am expecting an Austin Carr-like preseason from him.
Yeah.
Like the last 3 quarters, he's going to get targeted 1,000,000 times by Josh Dobbs and Wooldridge, and people will blow it out of proportion.
Yeah, with those guys, you always wonder. It's like a baseball thing. Like, is he a 4A player, right? Like, is he too good to be on a practice squad, but maybe not quite good enough to play?
I don't think you'll have any issues getting him on the practice squad.
Yeah,
I don't.
We'll see what he does in the preseason. I don't think you have an issue per se with the way. Like, there's not a ton of waiver claims anymore, anyways. But we'll see.
Yeah. So if people are wondering what happens when you go on a practice squad, another team can claim any other player from another team's practice squad, but they have to put him on the active roster if they do. And I think for at least 3 weeks, I think there's a minimum that he has to be on your active roster.
Any player that's on their rookie contract goes through waivers. The vested veterans don't go through waivers this time of year. Those guys become free agents instantly. But if you're in the first, I think it's 4 years of your NFL career, then you go on waivers.
Before you can be on the practice squad.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
I just hope that all these guys, all these receivers, that the competition can elevate some of these players and make them good enough to have this offense be a functional offense that can score on anybody at any time. And maybe that's asking a little bit, but can, Diggs' presence elevate Pop Douglas? Can that help Kayshon Boutte continue to elevate? Is Diggs' leadership in the locker room and the tone that he's setting, does that pull some of these guys up? Does it demonstrate to Javon Baker, this is how you have to be a professional. This is the consistency you have to come with every day to practice. Just want to trim the fat and figure out when we get to the end of training camp, all right, these are the guys who are moving forward now. It's the second year in a row you felt like you've had a big logjam at wide receiver, and it's still last year didn't feel like you ever got any real true answers from that group. Boutte had a good year. I mean, he continued to progress, but never got to the point where you felt like he was a game changer. Maybe as a group this year they can be game changers.
There's Efton Chisholm, 86.
The guy to me that's far more important in this whole conversation is the one to his right there, and that is Kyle Williams. I think if he can come in and make a legitimate role for himself, where he's not just a piece, but a legitimate complementary receiver who is making consistent contributions on a week-to-week basis, I think he has a skill set that could do that. But we all know this is not an easy jump. We've seen a lot of young receivers come into this system and struggle. So hopefully he can get the mental side down so he can show some of that physical stuff that we saw at Washington State.
Yeah, I wonder about his position. And I know he's a wide receiver. Inside or outside. Because he's got a good release off the line to play on the outside, but his body type just doesn't. He's just a little too small to me. Like corners that are in the NFL.
He's listed at 5'11".
Yeah.
I don't know if he's 5'11".
If you're one-on-one with like a Christian Gonzalez, like Gonzo's just going to get in his face and he's just going to bully him at the line of scrimmage. And I just don't know if he has that play strength and stuff yet to play an outside role. And then if you are really looking at him moving more inside, well, now Diggs is there, Pop is there, and now you're in that log jam. So I'm just wondering where because I think they're trying to make him start to push Boutte as like that primary X. I just don't know if his skill set is perfect for that kind of role.
Yeah, it's a good point. Love to see him, this year pop in and make some key plays. Maybe he's not the starter out of the chute, but he's a guy like him and Bourne. Like, you need those, fourth, fifth kind of receiver. Hollins, like those guys going to come in key times and make some key plays for you.
Yeah, and I am probably guilty of this. Like, how many times do you have to get let down, Paul, before you start, counting it before it happens? But I'm ready. We're gonna open myself up to get hurt again. And I'm okay with it.
But like him and Travion Henderson, to me, is just, it's not about volume. It's like, how many big plays can they create?
Yeah.
If they can both combine to make some chunk plays for this offense and plays that they weren't getting the last couple of years, and the draft picks are fine. Like, maybe they aren't going to be a 1,000-yard receiver or a 1,000-yard rusher, but can they have like a 50-yard gain in a game or a 60-yard gain in a game? Like, those are the types of plays that they just weren't getting.
Yep. Sean in Vancouver thinks that Will Campbell is a guy that can't be replaced if he went down.
That's true.
I mean, we hope that's the case.
That is true. No, but they don't have a tackle that can. I mean, we saw it last year.
Yeah.
The guys that are behind Will Campbell and Morgan Moses are the two guys who played last year.
Not good.
Trey Jacobs and Vidarian Lowe. And Lowe hasn't practiced yet.
Right. So, I mean, really, it's probably Marcus Bryant that's behind him.
He's right. Sean's right. They don't have, I don't think, adequate replacements.
All right.
Yeah, that's what's interesting is the depth. And, again, just that's what's most interesting to me coming out of this camp. Who are the guys that we're not really expecting to be contributors or expecting to carve out a significant role on this team that will? And I think the push really starts today as things start to ramp up.
Right. I mean, Will Campbell going wire to wire his rookie season as the starter for 17 straight weeks.
Asking a lot.
Is asking a lot. And hopefully it's more than 17 weeks, right? Like, that's asking for even more. So at some point, him or Moses, especially Moses at 34, and Moses plays a lot of games, but he still kind of gets nicked up here and there and, like, will miss a game or two. So one of those guys is gonna go down with an injury at some point, and they're gonna have to replace him.
All right, we're watching Will Campbell now.
Big Will.
I'm excited to see the man-on-man
to the side, too.
when they go against the defense. I assume they're going to do that today, but no guarantees.
What was that? One-on-ones? Yeah.
When they go one-on-one with the defense.
Yeah, so we're in period 6 right now. There's about 7 minutes left, so that'll be the end of us. And then, they'll go, I think, right into group, which is offense and defense separately, and then one-on-ones in the red zone.
One-on-ones.
So it would help me if, and I'm talking to our technical people, if when we do have to turn the cameras off for our audience, if we can keep our monitor on what's going on the field so I can use that.
Pretty good.
Yeah. I could just turn around too, but.
You got your binocs, Fred.
Yeah.
Now it's a good perch up here. Get to see a lot.
This is a good inside baseball discussion. Some of us like the perch. Some of us don't like the perch.
I like the perch.
Me too.
I like being above it so I can,
I just can't see. This is a total me thing. My eyesight is terrible. Yeah. This is not like you guys are out of your minds for liking it up there. I can't see. I physically can't see.
I need the binoculars. But
yeah, I don't want to just see like 2 players in a binocular.
That's not how it works, Paul.
I'm like Evan. I want to see all 22.
Well, right now it's all 91, and it's a little hard to keep track.
My dream, someday maybe this will come true, would be to get the practice tape.
Oh, geez.
So I can
in your
watch
dreams,
it
Lazar.
After the practice. Like, not to, like, even share it. Like,
right.
just
then I do
like,
cut-ups and put them on Twitter.
Just to formulate my takes a little bit more,
Sure.
and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
Because you're trying to watch the line of scrimmage, and there's bodies flying everywhere. Like, you sometimes you catch someone flashing, but, like, really, it's hard. It's hard to see it. And that's, like, I'm looking right at it, and it's hard to see it.
I don't see, in the past they've had, I used to call them the boat, and then it had the big tower in the middle of the boat, and they used it remote control. I don't see those this year.
Right.
So I'm wondering, I know they have the behind the line of scrimmage camera. It's someone with a big monopod, and but I don't see where the other camera. They must be mounted somewhere and being operated remotely.
I mean, I'm looking right now at a coaching assistant down there, and she's got a camera. Yeah, she's got a handheld She's got a VHS camcorder down there.
You just got a You just got a shot of it right there.
Yeah, but
the visor guy.
There's got to be cameras around the field that are at a high level so that Evan can get his.
I wish.
His tape.
I wish. I promise I won't tweet any of it. I won't.
Just for me.
It's just for me.
Just for me, for my informed opinions.
Yeah.
There you go. Look at that.
On the hop.
Yeah. So this is your field level guy, and he's got that above the line. But there's got to be other cameras.
Yeah. Well, they probably have a bird's eye view camera somewhere.
Yeah. It's all AI now.
Just make it up.
It's all ball bearings nowadays.
Come on, guys. Yeah, so it sounds like there'll be a few days of pads this week. And so this will be a little bit of a grind. It's going to be hot.
Yeah.
Might be the proverbial dog days of summer, perhaps,
Yeah,
Paul.
it's coming.
You know. But Paul said it. It's like this week training camp.
Yeah.
Next week's kind of preseason. Joint practice, Minnesota. Giants.
Because then you get into like the schedule of like, you know, day off before the game and day off after the game, and it kind of slows down
really
a
only
little bit.
2 weeks.
Yeah.
I guess 2.5 weeks maybe of real camp.
They don't do it like they did it back in the day anymore.
Not like us,
No.
Freddie.
Now,
These kids,
now
these
back in
kids
the day,
nowadays, they don't know.
When you guys back did your triple sessions or whatever it was, did they ever had non-padded practices? Were there still shells and helmet days and stuff like that? Sessions without full pads?
Yeah, they would have. Like rarely would they go full pads both sessions in the same day.
Yeah.
One would be on or off. The problem is they never told you, so like sometimes you get stuck.
Yeah.
Watching both.
I remember double sessions in high school, and that man. I just was so hot after that first one. It was where I discovered.
No, those were always in pads both days,
Right.
both sessions.
It's where I discovered the magic of powdered Gatorade versus just the Gatorade you buy. Like the trainers, they always had the powdered stuff, and you could make it a little bit sweeter, a little more powerful. And I just remember jugging that stuff. Like, I got to go back to practice. Oh, it's tough. Tough.
CJ Dupree taking this rep here, 82. Just like those tight ends in general, like none of them have really
Someone's got to emerge.
Yeah, like the tight end 3 position right now, and I just wonder if it stays this way, if they just try to carry 1 or 2 on the practice squad. If they have to elevate them one week, they elevate them, and they just go that route, because none of these guys have really done anything.
No,
Especially with Hooper out, too.
I would think Westover would be the one I've noticed the most, but that's simply because he's been out there more.
Yep.
Yeah.
I haven't really
Lampy.
necessarily seen him do a lot.
Yeah,
That's
You
a,
said
that's
that
a
about-
shot of your fullback there.
You said that about Chisholm, like you probably have I don't think you have any problem getting any of these guys to the practice squad. Like Jack Westover, CJ Dupree, Jaheim Bell. So with all the elevations and the rules now, you might not need to carry 3 guys on the roster.
Yeah, I just want to know who I want, because I haven't seen much out of any of those guys
Right.
yet to make me say, like, I really need to keep any of these guys so far. And that's obvious after what the 4 practices we've seen. But
Right. It just gives you some time, and then if someone ends up getting, season-ending injury happens somewhere, and there's an IR spot that opens up, then you can sign them to the roster. But you don't necessarily need to carry them right out of the gate.
Well, I think today's an interesting day, though, just because if they are going to be in the red zone, they're going to be on the goal line. It might give opportunity to a second tight end like Dupree blocking, or that fullback Brock Lampy. Maybe he gets some snaps. I mean, there's some interesting things to look at once they get down there.
There's been a lot of fullback. And I think there's been too much fullback to say that that's going to go away. I don't know if it 100% will be Lampy.
Yeah, I think you're right.
But it's going to be somebody, because they've been doing too much of it during the team periods to then just throw out that part of the playbook once the season comes around, because they don't have one on the roster.
And if you do keep Lampy on the roster, I think that would even further cement your tight end 3 being from the practice squad.
Yeah, Henry, Hooper, Lampy, and then a couple guys on the practice squad stashed away.
What have we seen from Lampy so far? Is he?
Right now it's hard to
Has
say.
he got the chops?
Until we really see contact today and this coming up week. But
let's see if he's leading the way into the end zone to
I'm
cap this practice
I'm going to be
off.
fair to Lampy. He can't do Lampy things until you get pads on.
Lampy things.
The usage is what stands out, though. Like the fact that he's
around.
that they are going to that package and they are using a fullback. Like that's notable. That's the part that so far, at least for me, that I've noted.
Vrabel with 25 today.
Marcus Jones punching air.
How much longer is it before we see him show up on the injury report?
I'm wondering if he's like getting in better shape all this practice that he's been doing. Like, is he getting in shape too? Getting down to his fighting.
He's getting
weight?
hit pretty hard in some of those when he puts that pad on.
Spillane popped him in the jaw. I was like, man, don't get hurt, Mike.
I know. I wonder how much ibuprofen he's taken after these. All right, so our cameras are off the field
Cameras
now.
off now.
So you're looking at us.
Sorry.
So we'll do our best to see what's going on over there and try to tell you what we see, but that's hard because we have to be looking this way.
You're going to be staring at my back. I apologize.
Yeah.
I'm going to stand up.
All right. So good. Are we good to take a break downstairs? Might be a good time to do that.
Reset.
Okay. All right. So that'll be it for this edition of Patriots Unfiltered at camp, and you'll have your post-practice wrap-up show.
Yep.
The training camp cast. We'll be back on our. Are we going to do Patriots Unfiltered at 1 o'clock tomorrow?
Sure. I think we could do that.
Yeah.
Sounds great.
Let's go 1 to 3 tomorrow.
Yeah, because practice gets over a little after 12, and then you got availability. So we'll start PU tomorrow at 1 o'clock. So until then, thanks everyone for joining us, and let's go watch practice.
Hey, this is Deuce. Thanks for tuning into the show. If you really want to help us, make sure you like us wherever you get your podcasts, like Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Also, make sure you follow us on the New England Patriots YouTube channel to see this show and everything else that we do here at the Patriots. Thanks a lot.